Hello, hello, crafty chicks. This is Grace here at the Comfy Nest, and I'm getting ready to prep a board for an Essential Stencils project. So here's the stencil that I'm going to use. Here's the board that I'm going to use. So let me show how I'm going to create this background. So I'm going to get out my trusty mat here to protect my surface a bit. This one is really large, this mat. So I usually fold it down, but I could make it a little bigger for this project. There we go. And so we're going to do a distressed, kind of farmhousey look here. So we're going to start with brown. I'm going to shake up. I just have some Waverly and the color Truffle chalk paint. And we're going to do a base coat of this on this project. And then we're going to do some distressing to kind of create like a barn. I don't know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Distressed barnwood kind of look. So let's get this brown on here first. And then I haven't decided how I'm going to distress, if I'm going to wet distress or dry brush to get that distressed look. But either way, I'm glad you're here to watch and to learn and to be inspired, I hope. When you stop by, I love it when you guys say hello. Talk to me in the comments. Head over to the community tab and check out the post there. Kind of behind the scenes stuff. Check that out and talk to me over there. Let me know where you're coming in from, where you're watching from. Are you new to the channel? Have you been waiting and watching for me to become more active over here? I am generally, for the past 5 years since my little business has blossomed and came about, I generally do most of my sharing over on Facebook, but my accounts got hacked. So I have been, it was like a happy little incident that forced me to come on over to YouTube to make sure I can still connect with everybody. What I did learn from that, you guys, what I would say, I'm going to add a little bit of water to this to get this to move a little bit better. So I just have a spray bottle of water and I'm just going to spray, and it's going to make that paint that's so thick move a little bit better across the board here. What I would say is what I learned is that it is dangerous for me to rely on any major social media as my only communication channel. Now, it's not my only communication channel. It's not. I have an email system set up. I have text messaging set up where you can two-way text me. I text you. You can text me back with any questions, any order questions, account activity. If you're a member of one of the craft clubs, I have 2 memberships right now, and I'm thinking about adding a 3rd one. Subscription box. So anyway, it's not the only way, but it was the primary way that I was communicating with you. So what I'm doing is I'm really encouraging all of you, if you want to stay connected on a regular basis, just in case something happens with social media again and I lose my access, I can stay in touch with you via email. I can stay in touch with you via text messaging. So I strongly encourage you, not just for me, but for any creators or, people who are sharing content on social media that you really appreciate and you don't want to lose touch with, get on their email list, get on their text messaging system, because we are in strange times and there are people getting banned left and right. And it's been a really interesting lesson to learn. I'll tell you that much. I definitely need to add a little water to this paint. It's getting rather thick. Listen, this coat right here doesn't matter so much. We are going to be covering it over with a brighter coat of white, off-white. So this is like the undercoat. So we just need to get it on there and let it dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off camera here and take the hairdryer to it just to get it to dry, and I will be right back when it's dry and we'll take on the next step. Okay, welcome back. Took the hairdryer to it. It's nice and dry. What I will say, generally when I do these background techniques, and I do this in the Craft Therapy Club, and there is a unit just on backgrounds, and what I generally point out, one of the very basic things that you need to know, when you're trying to achieve a certain look, if you want your paints to be blended, you want to work on your base coat while it's wet. I don't want this to be blended. What I want to do is create a distressed look with another color on top. So I'm going to dry brush this on with another color. And so my base coat needs to be dry. So that's a key thing to keep in mind when you're trying to create different looks for your background on your board. This board is just gorgeous. You guys, I got this, these boards are, they're so sturdy and fabulous. They come from Craft Deals, craftdeals.com. So check them out. They have some beautiful boards. Their prices are really reasonable. The fulfillment time, I think they struggle with that a little bit. It's a small family-owned business and they're growing like crazy. They appreciate the support if you're able and willing to wait a little bit. I do think that they're having some delays in processing just because it's a product that they have to produce and they produce it themselves, and there's so much demand for their products, and they are they're doing their best to fulfill them. Okay, a little bit of like, it's like a off-white kind of color. What is it called? It's called linen. It's a beautiful color. So it's a little warmer than what I usually use is plaster. Let me show you. I usually use Waverly plaster, and it's much brighter. So I'm going with the warmer color. I've got some paint here. I'm going to load up my brush, but I want it to be dry. This reminds me of stenciling, right? So what I want is this big bristly brush with these big wide bristles. I want to load it up with paint. I want to get all those bristles loaded up with paint so I have it across all of the bristles. But I don't want any, like, I want the paint to be dry and thick, but dry. I don't want it to be really wet. I'm not trying to get full coverage. I'm going to drag this across and dry brush it on. And I'm going to go in this same direction because this is how my stencil is going to sit. Actually, I was going to do it this way, but you know what? Let me go the other way. Let's go horizontal and see what we get. You can always, paint is easy because we can always change our mind. So we're just going to lightly drag. And when we test, we want to go very light, right? We're going to drag this across. When you first start, make sure the first drags are really, really light, because you can always apply more paint. You can always apply more pressure, but we're just going to simply drag this across, and we don't want it to look like it has stripes. That's not the look we're going for. What I like to do is sometimes when I'm doing this technique, I drag with the paintbrush wide, and sometimes I'll turn it and drag it with it skinny, because you're going to get different looks to the dry brushing. And what I love is on wood, especially reclaimed wood, you get all the texture, the grains of the wood, which I think is so fantastic. So I'm just going to come in, and I don't know. I was originally going to do this horizontally, but now I've decided to go this way. And you're just going to do this until you're kind of happy with what it looks like. And we're dry brushing, so you can see, we can still see the brown underneath. I think I'm going to end up adding, see, I'm loading up my paintbrush, but I'm offloading a lot of it so that there's not a lot on the brush. I think I may end up adding a lot more paint so that less of that brown is showing, but we'll see. Let's get this on here and see what we get. The brush, where I stop the brush or start the brush in the middle. If you do that, if you start or stop the brush in the middle, you're going to get these little lines, these flecks, which can be actually pretty cool looking, or maybe you don't want them. And so if you don't want them, you want to start your brush stroke back here off of the board. If you want those markings, you want to start it in the board, like in the middle of the board somewhere. Now, I love that my edges are getting white with this lighter color. They're picking up that paint and it's kind of pooling there, which I love that look. You may not want that look, so you just don't hit your edges so hard with a newly loaded up brush. Okay. So I don't know, this is going to sit on here this way. I think I'm okay with it going horizontally, but I want more of it. I want more paint. So let's grab some more. It's always better, you guys, always better to start off light when you're doing a technique like this, and then add more as you go. And don't fret if you end up looking at this and going, man, I don't like it at all. Just coat it again, start all over again, paint it brown and let it dry, and then start all over again. Do not let it get you down. Do not let it stop you from doing your project, okay? Don't ever let that hold you back from moving forward. This paintbrush, it feels like it's coming apart. I'm holding it at the very bottom because of the brush itself. I wonder if I pull really hard, I think that's going to come out of there. It's kind of funny. I'm due for more brushes. I'm due for a little brush shopping extravaganza because my brushes are well used and worn, used and abused, which is a good thing, right? They've served their purpose. I want this to look really mucked up and distressed, right? So I'm feeling like I have a lot of brightness in the middle. I want to kind of focus on the edges now a little bit. And I want some brighter. So I want some brighter marks. So with that, put it on, leave it. Like if I keep rubbing, it's going to be lighter. It's going to blend in more with the brown. If I just hit it once and leave it, you're going to have a brighter spot of paint, right? So the more you hit that, the more obscured it's going to be, or the you know, it's not going to be as much contrast. You want it to be brighter, then hit it once and leave it. If you want it to be more obscured, go in and keep brushing over it, and it's going to kind of meld into the dark brown underneath, and it's going to lose its contrast, the high contrast. So this all just takes, like, it's trial and error and just playing. Just play. Don't take it too seriously, and don't let it don't let if you're not experienced with this, don't let that stop you. Really, we're just brushing strokes on here. There's no you know, skill set. It's just the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. It has nothing to do with, like, are you better at this than me? All I'm doing is, you know, putting these brush strokes on. So don't get too worked up of, I'm not too good at that. You'll get better. And remember, the other thing I'll point out to you is that this is the base. We're going to be decorating all over on top of this. So don't worry too much about the base. I mean, that's not going to be the focal point of the project, but it needs to be done. I want it brighter because I want my words to really show up well. So I'm going to come in and add quite a bit more paint here because I want my words, when I stencil over this, I'm going to stencil in brown, and I want them to show up really well. So I want this coat to be a lot brighter, especially because on this stencil that I'm going to use, some of the words are really small and I want them to show up really well. I mean, maybe I'll use white. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you're going to stencil some words over this, what color would you use? You want it to be something that's really going to show up. So would you use white or would you use dark brown? White might be, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see how this ends up, but I'd love to hear from you in the comments what you think about that. See how I'm adding so much more than we started with. It looks completely different than it did even 5 minutes ago. But I'm considering that I'm going to be stenciling over this, and I want it to be nice and bright so that the stenciled paint, when I paint that stencil, it shows up really well. Dark spot right there. And you can do, you know, nothing says that you can't add other textures or types of paint strokes to this. And what I mean by that is, right now what I've been doing is dry brushing with regular strokes. I could come in, load up my brush and just pounce like here and there, just for visual interest. What if we came in? It's almost like a stamp, like stamping some texture on here. Right? Here or there, willy-nilly. We're adding some. So, and I'm focusing on these darker. I have these bright lines. I'm focusing on these darker spots. So I'm adding brightness, but it's not a brush stroke. It's a pounce with my paintbrush. I'm adding more paint. I'm adding more brightness to this background, and I want it to be random. I don't want it to be in lines. I want it to just kind of be randomly on the board, but I am focusing on these dark spots. So I'm brightening them up in a different way. I did not plan to do this. This was not in my original plan, but hey, this is the beauty of creating, is you get to do whatever your little heart desires at the moment and explore it and discover it and have fun with it. I love it. I love this. I love this. And when I come over even the brighter spots, because I'm pouncing on and it's got a bit of a texture to it, it's actually showing up even on the brighter spots. Oh, I love it. I might. Oh, do I stop there or do I add more? Let's go on to these dark. It really shows up well on the dark spots. And I'm loving it. I don't want to overdo it though. Sometimes when you love something, you can overdo it. It's like potato chips. Right? I love them so much. But that doesn't mean I should eat the whole bag. What other things? Oreos. Like, what other things? I love them so much. Okay. I like it. It's unusual. I love the color scheme. If we stuck with this, you guys, if we stuck with this, what I'd love to know is, what do you think? What color, when I stencil this, what color will show up? I'm kind of thinking the bright white is going to show up better than the dark brown. I'm thinking the bright white, but I'd love to hear from you. Okay, this is the basis, the base of the project that for Essential Stencil that I am going to do live on April 8th on their Facebook page. So I will probably take that video recording and post it here on YouTube as well. But if you haven't seen it here, if it's not here yet in the Essential Stencil playlist on YouTube, you can head over to their Facebook page and watch it there. What I will say is I am a brand ambassador for that company. And if you want to order any of the stencils, they have some new spring stencils, and this is one of the newest ones. You can use my code, The Comfy Nest, to get 10% off your order. If you decide to sign up for their monthly club, you can get 50% off your first month using my code. So feel free to do that. Use up my code. Use it well. Okay, guys, I will catch up with you later. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.